Kind of continuing with our Memorial Day preparations, Lynn Weaver is joining us on SuperTalk Mississippi from Grills of Mississippi. Lynn, it's nice to meet you.
Scott, thank you so much for allowing me to be here today. Yes, it's that time of year. We're right at the beginning of, I guess we'd call our quote-unquote barbecue season. However, we're lucky enough in the state of Mississippi that we really don't have a season. We can pretty much take care of our outside cooking year-round. And for us at Grills of Mississippi and as a competitive barbecue team, that opens up a lot of doors for us. Before we get started today, I would like to take a moment to thank all of the fallen soldiers, all of the Gold Star families that continue to pay the ultimate price for my opportunity to sit here and have this conversation today.
Well said.
It's sometimes I think we get lost in what the true meaning of Memorial Day is, and especially whenever you think about the fact that it was created right here in Mississippi, the holiday itself. So I think it's always important that we start with that.
It's not about going out to have beers with your friends and barbecuing, although that's become part of it. We should pause to remember what it's truly about and who it's for.
I could not agree more. Yes, we do have the opportunity to spend time with our loved ones, with our family and friends, and part of that is the meal and everything that goes along with it. However, there are some things that we probably should talk about and some things that we need to be mindful of as we go into that process. For some people, that's a very daunting task. For others, it's just old hat. We learn it from our grandparents. We learn it from our dad, and those things continue to carry on. I like to say that it's weird here in the state of Mississippi because we don't have a barbecue ID as of such. You know, we're not Memphis. We're not Kansas City. We're not a Texas kind of style. We're our own deal. And what's funny about that is for us to not have a barbecue identity of such, we have more world champions that come out of Mississippi than anywhere else.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. Matter of fact, a Mississippian just recently won the Memphis in May contest, which is one of the biggest in the world. It's actually an international contest of 240-something teams, I think, were there this year. It's a fellow by the name of Mr. Heath Riles, which I'm sure many of y'all have seen his products. He's from Hernando. I could go on and on and on with the list.
So if you had to try to pinpoint a style that's most popular or most prevalent in the state, what would that style be?
I think it would be a whole lot easier to describe the flavor profiles. We borrow a little bit from everybody that's around us. We have the Kansas City sweet element in our barbecue. We also have the Memphis vinegar and a little bit of heat there. We like the texture of Texas barbecue. We use some of the fruit woods and some of the fruit juices in our barbecue from Georgia. So it's kind of an amalgamation of everything. And with that said, it has created, without a doubt, the absolute finest barbecue in the world. And I would say that without hesitation or mental reservation, having trouble with my words today.
You and me both.
It's just one of those days. But it's really neat if you start to follow that progression. The number of barbecue teams that are out there, the number of world champion barbecue teams, which, like I said, the list is as long as my arm. Here in the metro, we had a member of our barbecue community win the whole hog competition at another contest that happened at the exact same time as Memphis in May in Memphis. It's called Smoke Slam. That is Fireman John McKinnon out of Madison, Mississippi. Just another example.
So what's the difference between grilling and barbecuing, if there is one? Do you guys look down on people who just throw meat on a grill? Do you want them to smoke a brisket for 20 hours? Is there
absolutely not?
To be pure, what's the best way to barbecue this weekend?
It's what's best for you. It depends, of course, on the equipment that you have. It has a lot to do with the proteins that you're cooking, the amount of time that you have to prepare those.
And the longer the better, usually, right?
In some cases. I don't want to cook a steak low and slow.
No,
it just
no, that's
it
true.
just doesn't work.
Throw that on the grill for like 3 minutes aside.
So it's one of those deals that it really depends on the equipment that you have, the amount of the protein that you're cooking, what your desired outcome is, because there's several things such as chicken that you can cook low and slow if you're looking for a certain outcome, which would be a more supple, juicier type texture, as opposed to a grilled piece of chicken that's going to have a more of a crust and a little bit drier consistency, which both are great. Don't misunderstand me. It just is a matter of what you prefer.
And what you want to do. I don't have the opportunity to barbecue, to grill as much as I would like. I live in an apartment complex with no balcony, so I'm not able to set a grill out on the porch and grill out whenever I want. But I've got friends who have these elaborate smokers that cook everything on their smoker, from breakfast, lunch, to dinner. And every year I look forward at Thanksgiving. We all get together at like 4 o'clock in the morning, sometimes earlier, and smoke everybody from the cigar shops turkeys that day for like 8 hours, smoking cigars, drinking bourbon, smoking turkeys for 8 hours on this massive smoker. And that's one of the most enjoyable days of the year to me.
Well, that's what barbecue is. Even at the competitive level, it's about the community. It's about having the opportunity to get together. And ultimately, that's what drew me into the entire activity, for lack of a better word. However, obviously smoking with or cooking food with fire has been around since the dawn of time. It's hard to explain what those relationships mean unless you're part of that group. It's hard. I tell people all the time that this barbecue thing is the hardest thing in the world for me to explain, because I no longer hunt and fish. I don't do any of that. I spend way too much time, way too much money in this world, and I don't apologize. This is one thing that I can tell my grandmother about.
You get to eat well.
Right.
Somebody on the C Spire text line wants to know if you'll call out the pellet smoker chumps.
No, I won't call them out, and I'm going to tell you why. It's a live fire situation. It just so happens that live fire that's in that fire pot happens to be controlled with a fan and some type of computer. Now, that doesn't make it bad. Please don't think it does. I own a pellet grill. I use it competitively. I think every apparatus has its own purpose. And if you talk to my wife, she'd tell you that I've got way too many of those. As a matter of fact, I think there's 13 sitting on my patio right now.
It seems like a perfectly reasonable number.
Well, I ask her whenever she has something to say about that. I ask her how many pairs of shoes she has, and then all of a sudden I'm on the couch.
You're on the couch for the night.
Right.
We're talking to Lynn Weaver, Grills of Mississippi. Lynn, what tips, what recommendations would you have for people who are going to grill or smoke out this weekend?
I would start with the most important tool that you could possibly have in your arsenal when it comes to barbecue. A good digital read thermometer is integral, and in my humble opinion, that's more important than the apparatus that you're going to cook on. I could not tell you anymore at this moment in my life how long it takes to cook a steak. I can tell you that I want my steak to come off that grill at 124 degrees. And once you get
I watched Chef Gordon Ramsay, and he touches it and knows immediately what the temperature is.
The problem with that, and where the whole thing falls down, as far as I'm concerned, is every piece of meat's different, every animal's different. So those textures, whenever you're trying to judge doneness based on how it feels, tends to change. And I know that the temperatures don't lie. And that would be my first suggestion. The next thing is to make sure and make a plan. If I was cooking, let's say you're cooking on Sunday, I would start that process Saturday. I would make sure that I had all my stuff ready. I would go ahead and take care of any sides that I had. I'd make sure that I had proper food storage plan, because food safety is definitely a thing, and people don't think about it so much when you're dealing with your family, especially when you're out by the pool and you're
Are you saying we don't care about the safety of our family? We don't care if we get them sick?
No.
Because you might be right.
Don't put words in my mouth. It's just one of those things that we don't think about and we don't plan for. For example, I would, serving things like cold slaw or some type of cold salad or something that has a mayonnaise-based sauce with it.
That's got to be in the fridge.
Well, that's what I was fixing to say. The first thing that I'm going to do is make sure that once I serve it, I put it in something cold. 40 degrees and below, or if it keep cold things cold, hot things hot, 165 degrees and above for any of your proteins that's come off the grill.
Lynn Weaver, Grills of Mississippi. Stick around for another segment. I want to ask you a couple other things and learn about the company, too. It's
Absolutely.
Middays with Gerard Gibbert here on SuperTalk Mississippi and the C Spire text line 601-879-4395, or you can find me on X. I am at Scott Sands Media. And Lynn Weaver, Grills of Mississippi in studio. Rhino is very disappointed you didn't bring food with you today, Lynn.
I know it. I just let it fall down. I have no other words for
it. Very, very disappointing. Tell me about Grills of Mississippi.
I'd love to. First of all, I'm going to give you a little bit of a story that I've not been a huge part of. However, Mr. Jonathan Huddleston and his family grew this business very organically in a very Mississippi way. And Mr. Huddleston, of course, would have been with you today, but he recently had some back surgery, so he's recuperating. So they sent in me, I guess, the lefty, to make it happen.
Without food.
Without food. I know I let it fall down again. Like I said, I got work to do, I guess.
Right.
Grills of Mississippi is truly a all-encompassing outdoor supply store. If you cook it outdoors, they've got it. I don't know how else to say it. They're over 770 sauces, rubs, and marinades for anything that you can imagine, from all the proteins, including fish, shrimp. They have we have a small meat counter that we keep fresh-cut meat, keep some frozen fish, those type of products. 12 different lines of grills. They are what's considered a diamond dealer for Rectech grills, which we're very proud of, and they are a top-level dealer for Weber. In the pellet world, we move a lot of product, somewhere around 2 tons a week of just wood pellet products, a lot of accessories, cast iron, stuff like that, anything you need outside. They also help with designing of all of your outdoor kitchen needs, that kind of stuff, through Renaissance Cooking Systems, which are great products. The company itself started kind of out of a place that you wouldn't really think of. Jonathan Huddleston and Tracy Hobson were what was known as, I think the team name was Pellet Smokers at the time, or something along those lines. They were chasing the National Points title in the Memphis Barbecue Network. And Jonathan saw that these pellet grills were the future. This has been several years ago, close to 20 years ago now. And Jonathan was the first person to bring that type of technology to Mississippi. Because he saw that vision, he started selling some of these products out of his house or out of his garage. And because they were on this national circuit and they were competing every weekend, other teams would say, hey, Jonathan, whenever you see so-and-so, bring me a case of their rub. Or whenever you see so-and-so, bring me some of their sauce. And Jonathan found himself kind of working to all these products in and out of his house, and all of a sudden, a bell goes off. He was already in business. He was in the audiovisual business at the time, and he just started doing that in a mail order situation out of his house. And then that grew into a business that they first rented a small space right off of Lake Harbor, close to the reservoir. And a couple of years ago, they moved to their newest location, which is out here on Highway 51 right here in Ridgeland.
It looks huge. It looks like you've got everything there. And these Rectechs are so popular. They've become all the rage.
Well, and there's reasons for it. Whenever you go to purchase a pellet grill, there's a couple things that you really need to be aware of. First thing being, how is that air going to move through that chamber? How are they going to control the fire itself? Because, again, a pellet or a wood pellet is just that. It's 70% something to create BTUs, and then 30% for the flavor. And it's just a compressed wood product. So what type of air, or how is that air going to flow through that particular cooking chamber? How is it going to feed the fire? How is it going to control the fire? What type of controller does it have? And what's it made out of? What's the entire thing made out of? Well, RecTech pretty much clicks all those boxes. 304 stainless steel all the way through, a 4-inch fan, which moves a lot, a 4-inch variable speed fan, which is important, and the PID, or the controller system that they have, is second to none. So we've been very
Lynn,
fortunate.
I got to tell you, there's going to be a lot of guys who are going to bookmark this segment and send a clip of it to their wives and girlfriends and daughters for Father's Day.
Well, come see us and bring her with you. And the reason I say that is a lot of people don't realize that in the pellet world, it really opens up some doors. My wife, for example, would not cook outside at all until I brought home the first pellet grill. And the reason is because she felt very comfortable with it. She didn't have to go out and handle charcoal. She didn't have to go out and light a fire. She didn't have to worry about a propane bottle blowing up. But she would go out and touch that button, and we would immediately start a fire, and then she would be more than comfortable doing it.
30 seconds, Lynn. Tell us the quick tips for seasoning your meat before you start the barbecue and grill this weekend.
Real quickly, number one, dry your meat. Make sure that you get it as dry as you possibly can. Binders are not necessary. That's a great misnomer. If we have more time, we'll talk about that. Season heavily, let it sit. Let your seasoning set for about 15 minutes until the salts that are in those seasonings start to pull some of the moisture out of the meat and rehydrate those spices that are within your seasonings. And put it on there and have a ball.
Lynn Weaver, Grills of Mississippi, great to see you. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate being here.
SuperTalk Mississippi News and Fox News here at the top of the hour on SuperTalk Mississippi.